garage. Oh baby, now we're in my goddamn garage. What we doing here? Goddamn garage. Oh baby, now play my goddamn guitar. My goddamn garage. We'll be playing my goddamn guitar. My goddamn garage. We'll be playing my goddamn guitar. Don't you know it? We're in my goddamn. I find that playing an instrument, any instrument really, is one of the most soothing and meditative things I can possibly do. I don't really have the kind of brain. I'm too high-strung to be able to just sit down and relax and breathe deeply. I can pull it off sometimes, but it's not that easy for me. So what I do is I grab an instrument and I play an instrument, and that tends to calm me down. And sort of as a byproduct of that, I got better at the instrument over the years. I know that when I start drooling on my guitar, that's when I know I've hit that sweet spot where I've lost all recognition of what's going on in the world, and I'm completely focused on the task and lost in the vibrations, the sounds, however you wish to describe music. So I find that there's not much better for reaching a religious, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, kind of place than playing music and actually playing it yourself. I suppose you could do it as a listener as well, but as the player, there's something really godlike about it because you're creating it, right? Or you feel like you're creating it, even though it might just be patterns being repeated that you've played before. And I don't think it's a surprise because all of the arts to some degree grew out of religious practice. When you consider early human beings and their first attempts to express beyond the practical, it would have been through their religious expression, the sculpture, the story, the song, dance. All of these things would have found their earliest expressions inside of those religious structures. So I don't think it's a big surprise that still to this day we talk about how music can speak to our soul, how it can be transcendent, and all of these types of phrases that you would generally have for religious discussions. And even atheists on occasion can be heard describing music this way because we don't really have other words that explain it as well. Even if it's wrong, it's interestingly wrong, I suppose, is one way to look at it. Have you ever had a thought or a revelation show up in your head and it just appears there in an instant, and then you try to explain it to someone else? And even though it occurred to you in a fraction of a second, you can't find the words to explain it, even given half an hour or an hour. And for some reason, words are insufficient, despite being one of the most amazing, if not the most amazing technology ever devised by any living creature on the planet. At the same time, once you're aware of them, you're aware of their limitations as well, too. There's more that we want to express that we can't seem to be able to say. And I think that the arts are one way we can increase that vocabulary. Okay, the scale we're going to work with is E Aeolian. Now, I like E Aeolian because it's very close to E pentatonic, and this is a guitaristic scale to use. So first you would want to take a look at how would you play that scale in first position. And it's a very simple scale. You start on the low E string, 0, 2, 3, and the A string, 0, 2, 3, D string, 0, 2, 4, G, 0, 2, B, 0, 1, 3, and then open high E string. Now I'm going to be playing these like this with these two fingers back and forth. You can do the same exercise with a pick. When it gets to the part later on where we're doing the drone, you'll have to move back and forth, which is not too difficult, but it does take a bit of work. It's a little bit more natural when you're using your open hand. Now, what I like to do is picture the scale from here to here, from my low E string all the way up to high E on the 12th fret, so I get a full map of all the places where the notes can happen. So to do that, you can take a look at little scales in various places. For example, you got your first position one there, and then come up here to the 7th fret and do 1 octave's worth. And that's on the A string, 7, 9, 10, D string, 7, 9, 10, G string, 7, 9. And you have that low E string you can hit any time. Because we happen to already know about those notes too. And you can keep that low string going. So what about if you take a look at it per string? So first, the low E string, you have 0, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12, which is exactly what you would have, of course, on a high E string. 12, 10, 8, 7, 5, 3, 2, 0. Now on the A string, you're going to have 0, 2, 3, 5, 7. That brings you back to your E. 9, 10, 12. On the D string, you have 0, 2. That brings you to E there on 2. 4, 5, 7. You see how I'm bouncing back with the E? 9, 10, and 12. On the G, you got 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9. That brings you back to your E. 11, 12. Now, on the B string, you have 0, 1, 3, 5. That brings to your E right there. 7, 8, 10, 12. And we already know the high E string because that's what we started with. Once you have that, you can start improvising, even just on one string. Sometimes I'm doing this claw-like thing where I hit both at once, right? And you can do it with all three, like these 3 fingers here. The nice thing about practicing like this is there's no real mistakes. All of these open strings work within that context. Once you get one string going back and forth, try doing 2 at once or 3 at once. I got 3 notes happening there. I can take them all back. Remember where all the positions are on each string. And you'll discover all the natural chords that exist within that scale or that key. Here I'm on a C. And once you have all those notes down, that's when you just start moving up and down. You can start single notes, as I said. And then add in another one. And then third. And that's one of the big ways I first started learning to practice the guitar. And indeed, I carried it over to pretty much every other string instrument I've ever learned to play. I start using that technique until I get comfortable with it, get comfortable with the positioning, and I learn off of that.